At 68, country legend Patty Loveless is finally breaking her silence about Vince Gill, and what she reveals is both emotional and deeply personal. But before fame, before the awards and the spotlight, Patty's story began far from Nashville's glittering stages, in the quiet heart of Kentucky's coal country. Born Patricia Lee Ramey on January 4, 1957, in Pikeville, Kentucky, Patty grew up in the small, tight-knit mining community of Elkhorn City. It was a place where life was hard, but the music was pure, where the sound of bluegrass, gospel, and old-time country floated through the hills like a hymn of survival. Her father, John Ramey, spent his life working in the coal mines, his health slowly fading from black lung disease, a tragedy that shaped not only the family's life, but also Patty's art. His struggles became the soul of her songs, raw, heartfelt stories of hardship, love, and resilience that would one day touch millions. Her mother, Naomi, became the heart of the household, the quiet strength who encouraged Patty to chase the music that ran through their veins. Together with her older sister, Dottie, Patty learned to harmonize, their voices blending like echoes through the Kentucky hills. Those family sing-alongs weren't just pastime, they were the beginning of a voice that would one day define a generation of country music. Patty Loveless's music has always been rich, emotional, and deeply real. As a young girl growing up in Kentucky, she dreamed of following in the footsteps of her idols, Loretta Lynn and Dolly Parton. Both women had started from simple beginnings, and their success proved that a small-town girl could reach the top of country music. Inspired by their stories, Patty began performing alongside her brother Roger, who not only played guitar, but also helped guide her early career. In the early 1970s, Patty and Roger often made trips to Nashville, chasing opportunities wherever they could find them. Roger's work with the Wilburn brothers opened a few important doors, and during one of those visits, something magical happened. Patty sang backstage at the Grand Ole Opry, her voice catching the attention of country icons Porter Wagoner and Dolly Parton. That brief moment gave her the confidence she needed. She knew then that she truly belonged in country music. But Patty's road to success wasn't smooth. As a teenager, she married her first husband, Patty Loveless, the man whose last name inspired her stage name, Loveless. Together, they performed in small southern clubs, blending rock and country sounds. Yet behind the music, their marriage was falling apart. When it ended, Patty returned home to Kentucky, heartbroken but determined to start over. It was her brother Roger who once again pushed her to keep going. By the mid-1980s, Patty was back in Nashville, performing wherever she could and winning over audiences with her raw, heartfelt voice. Her big break came in 1985 when MCA Records signed her. Soon after, her albums If My Heart Had Windows and Honky Tonk Angel hit the airwaves in 1988, introducing the world to a bold new voice in country music. Songs like Chains, Timber I'm Falling in Love, and Don't Toss Us Away didn't just climb the charts, they defined her as one of the leading figures in the neo-traditional country movement, a return to the genre's emotional and musical roots. The 1990s became Patty Loveless's golden era. Albums like Only What I Feel, 1993, When Fallen Angels Fly, 1994, and The Trouble with the Truth, 1996, proved her incredible gift for storytelling. Her hits, How Can I Help You Say Goodbye, Blame It on Your Heart, and You Don't Even Know Who I Am, captured heartbreak, hope, and humanity all at once. Every song she sang felt like it came straight from her soul. Critics and fans alike praised Patty for her emotional honesty and her ability to bring every lyric to life. Her collaboration with producer and later husband Emory Gordy Jr. created some of the most powerful and beautifully layered country music of the decade. Together, they crafted a timeless sound that honored traditional country while still feeling fresh and modern. But Patty Loveless wasn't just chasing hits, she was preserving a legacy. While others in the industry leaned towards pop country, she stayed true to her Appalachian roots. Her 2001 album, Mountain Soul, became a masterpiece, a heartfelt blend of bluegrass and classic country storytelling that celebrated faith, family, and her Kentucky heritage. The album earned high praise for its authenticity and depth, reminding the world where her heart truly belonged. In 2009, she returned with Mountain Soul 2, once again blending her past and present with grace and soul. These albums cemented her place as a bridge between traditional country and bluegrass, keeping the heart of the genre alive while giving it new life. All through her career, Patty Loveless has won many awards, including honors from both the Country Music Association and the Academy of Country Music. In 1988, she reached one of her biggest dreams, being inducted into the Grand Ole Opry. It was a moment that made her childhood dream come true. But even with all that success, Patty never let fame change her. She stayed true to her Kentucky roots, always humble, kind, and down to earth in a world where fame often makes people forget who they are. Many fellow artists have praised Patty not just for her voice, but for her heart. Vince Gill, one of her closest friends and collaborators, once said that Patty sings with the heart of the mountains. Those words captured what so many fans already knew, that her music carries the soul of her home, filled with honesty and emotion. As the years passed, Patty slowly stepped away from the spotlight. She chose peace and family over fame and awards. But every now and then she would step back on stage, and the magic was still there. In 2023, she joined Chris Stapleton and Dwight Yoakam for a breathtaking performance at the CMA Awards. The moment she began to sing, her voice, still rich and filled with emotion, moved the entire audience to tears. It reminded everyone that time may pass, but true talent never fades. Behind her powerful music lies a deeply personal story. Patty Loveless's private life, filled with love, heartbreak, and renewal, shaped her as both a woman and an artist. Her songs have always carried pieces of her real experiences, each lyric echoing her struggles and triumphs. Patty was married twice in her life. Her first marriage was to Terry Loveless in 1976. Back then, she was a young dreamer, still fighting to find her place in Nashville's tough country music scene. Terry, a drummer and musician, shared her passion for music. They performed together in small local bands, both hoping to build their names in the industry. Their love story was built on dreams and ambition, but life on the road wasn't easy. The long tours, money troubles, and constant pressure of chasing success began to weigh on their relationship. As Patty's career started to grow, the demands became overwhelming. The distance between them slowly widened until after 10 years of trying, they decided to part ways in 1986. Though the marriage ended, it left a lasting mark on Patty's music. She poured her heartbreak and pain into her songs, turning her sorrow into something beautiful. Those were the years that taught her resilience and gave her the emotional depth that would later define her artistry. After the divorce, Patty went through a difficult period of rebuilding her life, but that dark time also led her towards someone who would change everything. Emory Gordy Jr. He was already a respected musician, songwriter, and producer, known for working with legends like Elvis Presley and Emmylou Harris. When Patty and Emory began working together, something special happened. Their professional connection soon grew into something deeper. Emory understood Patty's voice better than anyone. He knew how to bring out the emotion, the storytelling, and the raw power hidden in her songs. Their bond turned into a partnership built on both love and music. In 1989, Patty Loveless married Emory Gordy Jr., marking the start of a long, steady, and loving relationship. With him, she found balance, both personally and artistically. Together, they created music that spoke to millions, blending passion with purpose. Over the years, Patty's friendship and collaboration with Vince Gill also grew stronger. They shared more than just music. They shared a mutual respect and understanding that few artists ever find. Today, after decades of friendship, Patty has finally spoken about that special connection, reflecting on how their lives and careers intertwined through trust, talent, and the shared language of country music.
Though their relationship has always been based on respect and professionalism, Patty Loveless recently opened up with a rare and emotional reflection about Vince Gill, the man who, she says, changed both her career and her life. Vince has always been more than just a duet partner. He's been a true friend. Someone who stood by me when the lights faded, when I lost confidence, and when I needed to remember why I fell in love with music in the first place. Her voice, filled with the same raw honesty that made her famous, carried deep emotion as she talked about their years performing together. Patty and Vince first teamed up in the early 1990s, when both were at the peak of their country music success. Their duets, like My Kind of Woman, My Kind of Man, became instant hits, not just for their flawless harmony, but for the deep connection that made every performance feel almost magical. When Vince and I sang together, it wasn't just two people singing. It felt like two hearts speaking the same language. It came naturally. We didn't have to think about it or force it. It just flowed. Patty credits Vince for helping her find her true artistic voice. She always knew how to bring out the best in me. She pushed me to trust myself and sing from the heart. That's something rare. Not many artists get to work with someone who inspires that kind of honesty in their music. She smiled as she remembered their recording sessions. Vince would often stand quietly in the studio booth, eyes closed, completely lost in the music. When she finished a take, he'd simply say, "Patty, don't overthink it, just tell the story." And that's exactly what she did. Over time, their partnership turned into a lasting friendship built on loyalty, not competition. Patty admits that the country music world can be harsh, especially for women, but having someone like Vince made it easier to endure. In this business, you meet a lot of people who smile for the cameras but vanish when life gets hard. Vince was never like that. He's steady, humble, and kind. She went on to share how Vince's support went far beyond music. When my husband, Emery, and I went through tough seasons, whether it was health problems, loss, or just the challenges that come with growing older in this industry, Vince was always there. Always. For Patty Loveless, Vince Gill isn't just a musical partner or friend. He's been a steady light through the highs and lows, a reminder that even in a business built on fame, the truest connections come from the heart. He'd call just to check in, offer a kind word, or remind her to keep going when times were hard. Vince Gill wasn't just a friend to Patty Loveless. He was the kind of person who gives without expecting anything in return. When asked how their friendship had lasted so many years, especially now that both have stepped away from the spotlight, Loveless's voice filled with emotion. "We've both seen a lot change, in country music, in life, and in ourselves. But no matter how much the world moves on, I can always count on Vince. He's still the same gentle soul who believes in the power of a good song and a good heart." Her words carried warmth and honesty. "I don't think I'd still be singing if it weren't for people like him," she admitted. "He reminded me that music is about connection, not charts, not fame." One of their most unforgettable moments came at George Jones's funeral in 2013. On that somber day, the two performed "Go Rest High on That Mountain." And what happened next touched every heart in the room. "That performance wasn't planned to be what it became," Loveless said, recalling the moment vividly. "Vince started to break down while singing, and I just followed my heart. I reached for the harmony, and somehow the music carried us both through." She paused, reflecting. "I'll never forget that moment. It reminded me that music has a sacred power to heal, even when words fail." Through the highs and lows of her journey, Loveless treasures her bond with Gill as one of the greatest gifts of her life. "He's family," she said with a quiet smile. "Not by blood, but by bond. We've shared laughter, heartbreak, and those silent seasons when only true friends remain. There's a peace that comes from knowing someone like Vince is always in your corner. As she looks back on her legacy, Patty Loveless doesn't talk about awards or fame. Instead, she speaks of the people who shaped her path, and Vince Gill sits right at the top of that list. "He's truly a great musician," she said, "but I know him as something even greater. A man who never forgot his roots, who treats people with respect, and uses his gift to lift others up. I'll always be thankful for that." After years of silence, Patty's heartfelt words reveal more than just a friendship. They tell the story of two artists bound by respect, music, and a shared belief in kindness. In a world where fame fades and trends change, their connection stands as proof that the real heart of country music isn't found in fame or fortune. It lives in the people who carry it with grace, humility, and love. Because at the end of the day, it's not the applause that matters. It's the hearts you touch along the way.